What's up, everybody? Welcome to another uh, band discography ranking where I rank every album from a certain band or artist. I have done other band discography rankings in the past, such as Nirvana, the Ramones, and Ween. Um, but now, and check those out along with some others I did. Um, but today I will be ranking all nine of the Beastie Boys albums. Yes, and technically there are eight Beastie Boys albums, but um, I am also going to include a certain EP that they did, which was actually their very first release. And the reason why I'm including that is because it kind of feels like it's a part of their discography. It feels like their real debut album. So I decided to include that one. So yeah, all nine of their albums, from nine being my least favorite and one being my favorite. And of course, keep in mind these are my personal opinions, so your list is going to be different from mine. So just keep that in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So coming in at number nine is actually the EP I was talking about. Yeah, the EP that started it all. They're very, in my opinion, really their real debut album. That is Pollywog Stew, released in 1981 or 82. I'm not entirely sure. One of those years. Um, and um, and yeah, this album is different from all the others. This was what back whenever they were a hardcore punk band, and actually Ad Rock wasn't even in the band yet. Mike D and MCA were in the band, but you also had the drummer from the band Luscious Jackson. I forgot her name, but she was the drummer and the original drummer for the Beastie Boys. And then he had this guy named John Barry playing guitar. Um, and Mike D was the lead singer, and MCA was the bass player. And yeah, they played hardcore punk. And I don't hate Pollywog Stew. The reason why I have it this low on the list and why it's the my least favorite is because it's not the production isn't very good on this album. The production, I don't really care for the production. The songs are Most of the songs are okay at best, but it's the production that I don't really like very much. It doesn't sound very good. So it's not really a good album, and honestly, it is their worst if you count that one. Um, but I don't hate it. I actually like it to an extent. Yeah, in fact, it never. I think it might have been like released maybe on vinyl and cassette whenever it came out, but it wasn't ever actually released on CD. You think it's like streaming really either. However, they did release this compilation called "Some Old Bullshit," which I think this might be streaming, and it has the EP on here along with the "Kooky Puss" single. But yeah, so if you want Pollywog Stew on physical media, on an easier physical media, easier way to find it. I mean, maybe somewhere you could find maybe the vinyl and or cassettes, but of course those are probably out of print. But the easiest way is on this CD, and also in the booklet it has the actual Pollywog Stew album cover and even the backside of that album. So that's pretty cool. Um, yeah, but yeah, some old or not some old bullshit. Pollywog Stew, it's not very good, but it's kind of cool. Just hearing Beastie Boys do hardcore punk long before they started doing hip hop. It's pretty cool. So my personal favorite track on Pollywog Stew is Egg Raid on Mojo. Now that is a legit good punk song. The others are just fine, mediocre, some of them, and just okay at best. But Egg Raid on Mojo is actually a good punk song. Um, and yeah, definitely the best song on the album and my favorite. So yeah, Pollywog Stew is number 9. All right, so coming in at number 8, we went from their debut album to their very last album. Number 8 is Hot Sauce Community Part 2, released in 2011. And this was released 1 year before MCA passed away from cancer, unfortunately, which is the main reason why I own this album. I was never a big fan of this album, but re-listening to it on for this ranking, it was actually okay. I actually didn't mind this album too much on re-listen. Um, I will say, like, the first half of the album, like, most of the first half is actually pretty good. Like, some really good songs. Like, you got Make Some Noise, Okay, Too Many Rappers, Say It, Don't Play No Game That I Can't Win. Um, some pretty good stuff, but then, like, on the later half, it's kind of weak, honestly. Like, the last two songs, like, the second to last one, Crazy Ass Shit, is only like a minute long, and then the final track on the album, which is called the Lisa Full Force Routine, that's under a minute. It's only like maybe 40 or 50 seconds long. So yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with that, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag of an album, and I don't really think it was that great of an album to end with, honestly, but they had to end it with this because MCA passed away after this, and of course they couldn't continue. But yeah, Hot Sauce Community Part Two, and there's actually no Part One, so yeah. But oh yeah, my personal favorites from this album are "Make Some Noise" and "Okay." Those songs are really good. I really like those. But yeah, Hot Sauce Community Part Two is my number 8. All right, coming in at number 7, we have from I think 2004 to the Five Boroughs. I think that's what's called, to the Five Boroughs. This was actually my first listen to. This is the first time I ever listened to it for this ranking, and it's okay. It's not a. I didn't love it, but it was fine. It was actually pretty much like just straightforward hip hop, pretty much, because like some of their other albums, while yeah, most of the songs were hip hop rap, they did put in like some other sounding songs, like like the albums Check Your Head, Ill Communication, and Hello Nasty, which I'll get to those later. But of course, but those they've experimented with other sounds, like they went back to their hardcore roots on some of them, and they also went like jazz funk on some songs, and yeah, but this one is pretty much just straightforward hip hop. And yeah, it's okay. It's fine. I don't hate it. It's all right. So yeah, that one, the my personal favorites for that album are Check It Out and Triple Trouble. Yeah, to the Five Boroughs. That is my number 7. Okay, my number 6 is actually the follow up to that album, and it was the second to last album, the album right before Hot Sauce Community Part 2. That is The Mix Up, released in 2007, I believe. And now this one is not a hip hop album at all. This is a jazz funk album, and all instrumental too. And yeah, and this album and like some of the other jazz funk songs that they did on some of the other albums, those prove that they're actually good musicians. Like not just good rappers. They're actually good musicians. And yeah, this is a really good album. I this was my first time listening to it, just like to the Five Boroughs. I think those were the only two I never heard before. Whenever I started this ranking, but yeah, I really liked it. It's just that these others I like better. That's why it's still a little low. It's still at number was it number six? But I still really liked it, and I would probably get to the Five Boroughs also, but I would definitely get this album on CD or maybe even vinyl if there is one. But yeah, I actually really like this one. This might be their most underrated album, if I'm going to be honest. Yeah, my personal favorite tracks on the mix up are 14th Street Break, Electric Worm, and The Rat Cage, which the Rat Cage is actually, I believe, named after I believe it was a music store that they always went to back in the day whenever they were a hardcore punk band. I think they might have played there maybe and I could be wrong, but I thought I remember hearing that like in the basement of that store there was actually like someone uh put in like a recording studio kind of like in the store, and I think that's where they recorded Polywalk Stew if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool that they named that the Rat Cage. But yeah, those are my personal favorites, and the Mix Up is a really awesome album. I recommend it if you haven't heard it. That is my number six, The Mix Up. All right, my number five. Now we're in the top five. My number five is an album that inspired so many rappers. It's like one of the most influential albums ever made, especially in rap and hip hop music. And this was the album. This was, if you don't count Polywog Stew, then this is their debut album. That is Licensed to Ill, released in 1986. And yeah, I I mean, yeah, it's Licensed to Ill. It's a good album. Now, I will say it's not their best, and it's very cheesy. If I'm gonna be honest, like pretty cheesy and corny, but I still like this album. I still think it's a really pretty pretty awesome album. I don't like every song on here. In fact, I don't even like Fight for Right very much. I think that's honestly one of their weakest songs. And they wrote that joke as I mean they wrote that song as a joke anyway, so they didn't even like the song either. But yeah, but some other good ones on here. My personal favorites are Ryman and Stealing and Paul Revere. Those are my favorites. And you also got great songs on here like The New Style, She's Crafty, Girls is hilarious. I like Girls. No Sleep to Brooklyn, Slow and Low, Time to Get Ill. Yeah, this is just like it's a very iconic album, but definitely not their best. I don't. It's not even in the top three of this. It's in the top five, but not the top three. So yeah, License to Ill. That is my number five. Okay, coming in at number four, we have from 1998, the year I was born. That is Hello Nasty. Yeah, Hello Nasty is a really cool album. It's really long. This might be their longest album, and there's 22 tracks on there. But yeah, I've had this CD for a very long time. I think I had License Ill for a very long time, and also Hot Sex Community Part Two. But yeah, and I remember I was trying to listen to the CD while listening to this album, and like the CD was skipping, unfortunately, so I might need to buy a new one. But but yeah, no, this album's really cool. There's some duds on here, but for the most part, I think it's a really cool album. You could call this maybe their white album, perhaps. But yeah, personal favorite tracks on this are Super Disco Breaking, Remote Control, Intergalactic, which is the most popular song on here, and a very underrated song called I Don't Know, which is not even a rap song. It's like an acoustic song that One of them sings, and there's a female singer too, doing background vocals. But yeah, it's a really cool song. It kind of, in a way, sounds a little bit like the Rolling Stones, in my opinion. Like the melody is very similar to the Stones. But yeah, Hella Nasty, great album. That is my number four. All right. Coming in at number three, we have Check Your Head, which unfortunately I don't own, and that was released in 1992. And this was, of course, the follow up to Pulse Boutique. And this was whenever, because both License Ill and Pulse Boutique are both just rap albums. Um, like, I mean, there's samples and like samples to rock music and stuff like that on those albums, but they didn't play the instruments. So this was the first album, not counting Pollywog Stew. This was the first album where they played their own instruments and they started putting in like some jazz funk stuff and yeah, it's this is a really cool album. Yeah, I like this one quite a bit. Personal favorites on this one are Jimmy James and So What You Want. Yeah, Check Your Head, really awesome album, and that is my number three. Okay, coming in at number two is actually a better version of Check Your Head. I mean, Check Your Head's already a great album, but this one's even better. That is Ill Communication, which unfortunately I don't own either. I need to get that one, but along with Check Your Head. But yeah, Ill Communication is even better than Check Your Head. It's very similar to that one, but it's even better. Um, I would say it's even like produced better. Like it sounds better. The production sounds a little better too. Not that Check Your Head had bad production. It just this one just sounds better. But yeah, this one's really awesome. And my personal favorites on this one are Sheer Shot, Flute Loop, and Do It. Yeah, yeah. Ill Communication is an awesome album. Did I say when that was released? That was released in 1994. I don't know if I said that, but yeah. And of course, this album has probably their most popular song, "Sabotage," which is a great song. Not one of my favorites, but it's a great song. Um, yeah, Ill Communication. That is my number two, and it would be my number one if it wasn't for this one. So my number one favorite Beastie Boys album, you probably already guessed it. Even you might even guess it before you clicked on this because I think most people say this is their favorite album, and it's definitely my favorite album. This was the one. This is the album I've listened to the most out of their discography, and in my opinion, this is the best rap album ever made. My number one is Paul's Boutique. Yeah, released in 1989. This is oh my god, this is like the Abbey Road of uh of hip hop. I would say so. Um, yeah, this is an amazing album. This this inspired a lot of hip hop bands and artists too. Um, and there's some really good samples in this from like other songs. Like it does it even better than License Ill, and License Ill did it pretty good. And I should also mention this album was produced by the Dust Brothers, who produced it, also produced Beck's Oldalay and some other albums as well. And they even scored the David Fincher film Fight Club as well. Um, and License to Ill, I forgot to mention that, but that was produced by Rick Rubin, who is a very, he's like an amazing producer, anyways. But I felt like the Dust Brothers did a better job on this one than Rick Rubin did on License Ill. But don't get me wrong, he was good on that one too. But no, this album though is it's just a fantastic album. Like even some of the weaker songs I don't hate at all. Like I could still listen to them, and like if you take away any track from this album, it just feels different, Um, even the weaker ones, but yeah, this was one of the albums that changed my life. So yeah, personal favorite tracks from this one are Eggman, which is actually my favorite Beastie Boy song ever. High Plains Drifter, Hey Ladies, and Looking Down the Barrel of a Gun. Yeah. So yeah, Paul's Boutique is my number one favorite album by the Beastie Boys. Yeah. All right, there we go. There is my ranking for all nine of the Beastie Boys albums. So in the comments, tell me if give me your ranking for all of the Beastie Boys albums. Uh, and if you haven't heard them all, just rank the ones you have heard, and if you don't want to count Pollywog Stew, that's fine. Just count just all the others, if you have heard them, that is. And if you don't want to rank them, then just say what your favorite and least favorite Beastie Boys songs or Beastie Boys albums are. All right, so I'll go ahead and say the next band I will rank, which won't be for a while. Probably, I don't even think it would be out next month. Maybe in March if you're lucky. But I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe next month. But I've only heard two of their albums so far. So yeah. Um, but the next band I will be ranking are the Rolling Stones. So check that out. Yeah, and that yeah, they have a lot of albums, so it will probably be a while. Yeah. And as for next Wednesday, I'm not sure. I don't really have anything planned at the moment. I got a few ideas. I might release a movie review. I don't know yet. We'll see, because I forgot to mention this in my Todd Phillips ranking, but originally I was supposed to release a movie review, one on my own, not a Your Cousins Are Critics episode, but one on my own I was going to do, and I I watched three movies for that, and I don't know. I just didn't feel like reviewing any of them. So I don't know. I don't even know if I'll ever review movies on my own anymore. I don't know. We'll see about that. But I don't know. I don't know what I have planned yet for next month, but or next week. But we'll see. Anyway, so please like, subscribe, comment, and hit the bell. And I'll see you later. All right. Peace.